Hello and good day to you. Today's video, we'll be knitting a woven I-cord to decorate the edge, the sleeveless edge, to the hem of the skirt gown. And to knit the woven I-cord, we need our knitted gather gown. You can use any size. I think this is about 2 to 3 years. There's a video on Anino TV YouTube on how to knit a gather gown with a buttonhole shoulder opening. All I did was make it for, I think that's for 0 to 3 months old, and all I did was just take the same idea and extended it for a 2 to 3 year old. You need our tape. We'll need our tape measure because we need to measure the length of the. We need to measure the edge of the. We need to measure the from the. Because we need to measure from the armhole around to the hem of the. To the hem of the gather gown, so that we know the length of the I-cord that we're going to knit. We need sewing pins. After knitting the gather gown, after knitting the I-cord, we'll pin it to the gather gown before we stitch down. We'll need a tapestry needle. I've put mine in a yarn so that I don't lose it. If you can use this, or you can use a sewing machine with denim needles, or a sewing machine that uses in quilting. So you can use your sewing machine. And if you're using a sewing machine, you will need coordinating thread and bobbin to coordinate the yarn that you use for the I-cord. You need a claw weight because we need to weigh our I-cord down. You need scissors to trim off yarn, tidy up, and also just to trim off. We need a crochet hook with thin head, something like a 0.5 is all right. I think this is a 2 or 2. I can't remember. There's no one on this. It came with one of my knitting machine, so there's no number on it, but it has a very thin head. I think it came with a broader electronic knitting machine, KH950i. So there's no number on it, but it has a very thin head. So you need something that can go through the I-cord so that you can darn in yarn. And of course, we need our yarn. I'm using 100% acrylic. I think this is Sunflower. I don't know the color code again, but it's a Robin brand. Robin by Thomas B. Ramsey. It's made in the UK. And also, we need our transfer tool. I'm going to use just the one needle transfer tool. So if you want to use 1x2 or if you want to use the 1x2 or the 1x3, it's optional, but you're just going to use only the one needle transfer tool. You need a working row counter because you want it to count the numbers of rows that you have knitted. So you want it to count both sides. You should be working on both sides, because even when you slip the yarn, you want to know how many the row you are in. In case you have to repeat it, you want to make for the other side of the gown, or you want to do production knitting, you want to know you've already made the first one, you've made the errors, and you just take note of the number, the row number, and then you knit from there. Okay, you need your carriage, a working carriage too. For this, you need your knitting machine first. So we need a knitting machine and its coordinating carriage. I'm using the LK150 It's a flatbed knitting machine by Reed, and it's plastic. It's manual, plastic manual, and it's a mid-gauge knitting machine. We need this carriage. You can see that it has K360 here. That's because when it was when Craft TV had it on their channel, they had it as LK150 and also as K360. See, the same knitting machine. That's, they just changed the model for the Craft TV. That's, they just changed the, should I say, the name or the sticker. So here's our 2 to 3 year old gather gown. It's time to measure the edge of the gather gown for the woven Icord embellishment. And to do that, we need a tape measure, and I'm using centimeter part of it. So here is the seam of the garment, and here we have the sleeves. Yes, supposed to be the sleeve. Okay, so we have a sleeveless here, the armhole. Starting from the hem of the garment, you place the tape measure there, centimeter size facing you, and measure up to the armhole, the underarm of the garment. So it's about 45.5, and then take the tape measure around the sleeve of the garment in a circular fashion, because we are going to embellish it in that fashion. So it's 83 centimeters. From the hem of the garment to around the sleeve is 83 centimeters. To make up for the seaming, the weaving, I'm just going to add 7 more centimeters to it to make it 90 centimeters. That's because when something is woven, when we weave, you know, sometimes some space has been taken here, but it's not on a straight line anymore, like how we measured. So I'm just going to add 7 centimeters to it to take care of all those, any other design, to take care of the design. So now we need to knit an I-cord, sorry, 6 I-cord measuring 90 centimeters in length. Only 1 I-cord will be demonstrated on the knitting machine because it's a repeat. Instead of knitting 6 beds, we'll knit 6. I'll knit the remaining 5 off camera. So let's progress to the knitting machine, where we knit 6 I-cord, all measuring, each measuring 90 centimeters. All right, but we have to knit for the carriage. We have to set our carriage. Because it's an I-cord, you can use a smaller stitch die, but I'm just going to use 3 for it because I would really want the I-cord to be pronounced when I weave it. I want, you know, I want that effect, that dramatic look. Since it's sleeveless, I just want it to act. I want them to see it. I don't want it hidden. I don't want the design hidden. So I'm going to use 3 on the knitting machine. I just don't want my finger to be in the way. So I'm going to use 3 on the stitch die. And we need to set the carriage. On the left side of the carriage, this is the right side, okay? Okay, facing you, this is the right side and this is the left side. So on the left side, this is the left side now. Facing you, this is the left side. The stitch die should be on the triangle and the side lever should be on 2 or 11, depending on how you call it. And on the right side facing you, this is the stitch that should be on the circle, and the side lever should be on the 2 or 11, depending on how you call it. Why is that? When you are knitting from left to right, when you are knitting from right to left, because this stitch die is on the triangle, if it's going towards the right, it knits. And because this stitch die is on the circle, which is a slip stitch, as it's coming towards the right, that's from left to right, it slips. So that's why on the right side is. If you use the same knitting machine, you can check your manual. Just going to print the manual. As I said, it's still LK150 knitting machine. You can check page 26 on the manual. It's called cord knitting. So with that set, I'm just going to put as we set our carriage, I'm going to take the row counter. So we just need to go closer. And I'll set the row counter to 000. I'm going to push 4, is that 3 or 4 needles I want to use? Okay, I'm going to use 4 needles. I'm going to use 4 needles. First of all, make a swatch first. Just make a little one to find out if you really like the size of the needles for it, because for you it might be too big, while for me I want that dramatic look, so I want it to be big. So for you it might be too big. It's better for you to try it first and see if 4 needles, using 4 needles to knit the Icord is alright. So here's a little swatch that I did before then, and imagine I'm going to weave 3 of these together to make the woven Icord. So I really like it's going to give me that dramatic look that I want. I made 3 different ones and wove them in little to see if I like it. Okay, I'll go with the 4 needles. So you can do that too. And taking a look at my mast, I've already threaded my mast, and it's on, let's go closer to see the tension. It's on 3. So I'm using 3 by 3. That's 3 on the mast, 3 on the stitch die. You can change and use whatever you want. Just be comfortable, and remember, you are the designer. So we've pushed 4 needles to upper working position, hold position. So taking a little yarn, taking the yarn from the mast, make a little knot, not a tight one. That's because this knot is still going to knit. Then hang it on the first needle. Make it move towards the back of the crochet. Sorry. Make it move towards the back of the needle hook. We have to go closer for the second one. I know I've done this video before, but it's nice doing it again for those that are just following the Icord treasure. Put the yarn in between the second and the first needle. Bring it, hold it under, and pass it under the second needle. And like an E-wrap motion, take it over the second needle and wrap it around, but let the yarn go in between the first and the second needle, and you have an E-wrap on that needle. So I'll do it again. This time it's between the third. We want to wrap the third needle. So we take our yarn, pass it under the third needle and let it come out between the third and the fourth needle. And then take the yarn and let it go over the third needle. Bring it, let it pass between the second and the third needle. Then leave the yarn you are holding at the bottom, and then it erupts. Sorry. So for the fourth one, take the yarn under, bring it between the fourth and the space because there's no other needle. Holding it at the bottom to help. It's not that necessary, but you can just use it to secure your stitch, especially the third needle, the stitch on the third needle. Then bring the yarn above and then over the fourth needle and let it pass between the third and the fourth needle, and then let go, and you let go of your hand at the bottom. You've erupted. Now that we've erupted, we'll now put our yarn in our carriage because we have to start knitting. If you want to, which is necessary but not compulsory, you can hang your claw weight so that the stitch knit properly, or you can just hold the yarn at the bottom. Then after you knit 1 or 2 rows, you hang your claw weight. But I'll just hang my claw weight now. I've done some without hanging the claw weight at the beginning, and this time I'm just going to go the other way, not my usual self. So we are going to knit the rows and then measure until it measures 90 centimeters. We're going to knit the I-cord. Okay. So here we've hung our I-cord. I'm going to take this tail off the way that I see it properly. Okay. Now we've erupted, and then our I-cord. We've erupted and the claw weight is in place. So we're going to need 90 centimeters. Remember when we measured, it was 90 centimeters. So we're going to need 90 centimeters. And with our tape measure, we'll measure until the I-cord measures 90 centimeters. The first needle didn't knit properly, so I'm just going to go closer so that you see it. And in case yours didn't knit, you know what to do. I'll manually knit it, or just pull it a bit forward and manually knit it. As the carriage comes back, it slips. I'm just going to knit a few rows and then we'll see the I-cord. Make sure your carriage passes the row counter. You really need that. Except you're just you're just playing around. You can see the I-cord forming. Because when it slips back to the right, it forms that line the yarn. When it slips to the right, it enables the cord to form, especially when you knit back. That yarn forms the I-cord. So we've knitted 113 rows just now, and I'll continue knitting until we get to, I know this is not up to, but I'll just knit a few more rows and we'll measure. Don't forget to move your Icord as you knit. So don't forget to move your claw weight as you knit. So I've knitted 300 rows. We're just going to measure. We are just going to measure and see how far, and see how close we are to 90 centimeters. So placing our tape measure at the back of the yarn, you don't push your needle forward first. You don't want the stitches to drop. Place your tape measure at the back of the Icord. Don't stretch it. Just let it glide on the tape measure. So we are now on, we've knitted 80 centimeters. We needed 10 centimeters more. So we need 10 centimeters more. Just going to be on 300. Keep on knitting. Carriage still in the same setting. Okay, our carriage says 353. Now we have to measure again. Sorry, our row counter, missing the names today. Our row counter says 353. So let's measure. I'll remove the claw weight first, and then we'll measure. Push the needles to hold position because I don't want to drop my stitches. It's hold position. There's going to be a lot of movement when we measure. That's why I'm pushing the needles to hold position. Then place it properly. And here it is, luckily 90 centimeters. Hope you can see it, 90 centimeters. So 353 rows, stitch die 3, tension mast on 3. I've gotten 90 centimeters. We need to cast off. If you want to, you can we need to cast off now. If you want to, you can cast off, or you can leave it like that. And if you've knitted others before, you can just pick them and hang them together. Then you knit so that they have one solid edge, then cast off, knit one row, cast off, and then you weave. But if you haven't, you can do any one you want. For this, I'm going to just go with I'll move all stitches to one needle. So move all the stitches and put them on the first needle. I will drop the stitch. Okay. Trying not to get my hand caught. I don't want my hand covering the camera, so I have to be careful. Okay, transfer stitches to one needle. Take the yarn out of the carriage. Wind the yarn around the hook of the needle. Just going to go closer so that you can see before. Wind the yarn around the hook of the needle so that we'll manually knit the stitch and have only one stitch on the needle. Then we'll do the same again. Wind the yarn around the hook of the needle and knit it through. Take your knit of the needle. You can break the yarn with your hand, or you can use a scissors, depending on the kind of yarn. You don't want to cut your fingers. To just leave a pointy edge, that's fine. So let's go to the work surface and weave this Icord. Okay. I'm going to make 5 others now off camera, and then we'll go to the work surface and knit and weave the Icord. So here's our gown, and we want to start weaving for it. We've already knitted 6 Icord of we've already knitted 6 Icords measuring 90 centimeters. Going to weave 3 together and 3 together. I'm going to braid them. Before we start weaving, I've already done the ends of 2 Icords that we have to weave 3 together. So I'm going to done the ends of this one because we want them to be neat. Now we're going to weave and then pin down. So putting my tape sorry, I said putting the crochet hook in the middle of the I-cord. Wrap the yarn around the hook of the crochet, pull down, pull it through the tail of the yarn, pull it through the middle of the crochet hook. And if you take a look at the right side, you will notice that the I-cord is not appearing there. Trim off the excess, make sure it's close enough, but make sure you don't trim your knits, if not it will lose. And here you have a knit I-cord. So do the same for the other end. Take the hook of the crochet hook, pass it through the middle of the I-cord, wrap the tail of yarn around the crochet hook, the end of the crochet hook, and pull through. That's the hook of the crochet hook. Trim off the excess yarn and you have a knit I-cord, front side knits. Okay, now we have to weave 3 together. So I've taken a string. If you want to, you can just take a little tail of yarn and tie it around the 3, or with a tapestry needle, you can just place the 3 together. Like I said earlier when we were knitting, if you don't want to cast off, you can, instead of casting off, you can just put the 3 together, knit 1 row and then cast off, so you have the 3 stuck together. But now we're going to do it manually. So I'm going to place the 3 head of the I-cord, 3 different I-cord, the heads of the 3 I-cords together, and we're going to stitch them. So I've stitched them. I'm just going to secure the other end past the okay, it's quite hard, so I need my crochet hook this time. Just put my crochet hook through. Oh, it's really so I'm just going to put my crochet hook and pull the yarn. Wanted that before we start, we have a neat base to start with. So wind the yarn around the crochet hook, pull it through. Make sure it's not appearing on the right side of the work. And then you have the two tail of yarns together. The one from the tapestry needle, the beginning of the when you started sewing, and the end of the tapestry needle. You cannot tie them together into a nice knot. Go in a second time to make the knot. And then you trim off the excess, leaving a large, not too long, just leave a little tail of yarn. Then we'll take the tapestry, the crochet hook, put it through one of the I-cord, and let the head come out, the head of the crochet hook come out close to the tail of the yarn that we just trimmed. Wind the tail of the yarn around the hook of the crochet and use it to jam it in. I didn't do it properly, I'll just do it again. Make sure when the crochet hook is you insert your crochet hook into the I-cord, it's not appearing at the right side of the I-cord. Okay, now we have a nice base to start with. So what I'm going to do now, you see one is in the middle, one is at the left, and one is on the right side. The I-cord. We'll split it into three. I don't really know how to teach how to braid, but if you watch my fingers, I'll try and explain the best I can do. Okay. So we have but if you are still confused, you can, I should have used 3 different colors of yarn to do it so that you see it, but because it's for the gown, I just want to do it perfect, and I just want to, because I'm going to give the gown out, I want it to be the exact thing I want. Okay. If you are still confused, you can watch people that braid hair, not cornrows, just braid, hair braiding. Use hair extensions and they weave it to make braids. Okay, so here I've placed 3 I-cords together. I've stitched the ends so that they're secured. That's because we're going to stitch it down to a gown. One I-cord is in the middle, one is on the left, and one is on the right. So we take the I-cord that's in the mid, that's on the left, we take it to the middle. You see me placing my fingers underneath. Okay, let me try again. But if I don't, please just go and watch how to braid. Okay, I'm just trying to try. I'm just trying my best on that. Okay, let me do it again. So one is on the left, one is on the right, one is in the middle. So placing my fingers underneath, my index finger underneath the middle Icord on the right, I'll move the center Icord to the left. And bring the left Icord, the original left Icord, to the middle. Then I'll place my finger again under the middle and the right, and bring the right Icord, which is this, I'll bring it to the middle, and then the new middle, that's the middle one, now to the left, sorry, to the right. Then I'll place my finger again and bring the left to the middle to the left, then right to the middle to the right. So that's just it. Middle to the left to the middle, the original left to the middle, then the original middle to the left, because in the next row it becomes original. Then the right, which this is not the original right, it goes to the middle, and this is the original middle, it goes to the right. So that's it. Just keep on placing your fingers and moving them. And as you weave, try and untangle the tails of the Icord now. If not, they'll be tangled. And don't make it too tight, don't make it too loose, just go normal. I didn't know when I learned how to braid hair, I was going to use it in knitwear. So for the skills you learn, you implement it in a different craft that you are working in now. Can see how far we've gone. So I'll be a little bit fast now. I don't want to go too fast. I just want to keep the same pace, because if you go too fast, one side will be, you have to keep the same pace if you want it to be neat and consistent. If not, one side will be tighter and the other side will be like plumber. So you want to go at the same pace that you are walking. Okay, so we've gotten to the end. And because I didn't go too fast, and I made sure they line properly and they match properly, you can see that the Icord, good. You can see that they finish properly and they finish well. So we need to stitch these three together so that they don't lose. Before I stitch, I'm just going to tie a yarn around them, around the end, to help me hold it in place. I'll lose the yarn after I finish tying, after I finish stitching. So I'll just put the yarn to tie it for me, just to secure. I don't want my woven Icord to lose. So I'm just going to tie it. Sorry, my fingers are getting in the way. I'm trying to make sure that they don't lose. So take the three ends together like how we did in the beginning. I'm going to take, so I've tied it. I just tied a little yarn to, I'll lose it after we finish. So take the three ends of the Icord together. You can make a nice pointy edge, that's fine. We're trying to secure. With the tapestry needle, I'm just going to sew in place. We want to secure the ends. I'm working from the back of the Icord to the front. And make sure you sew through the three ends. Because if you sew through only two, the third one is going to lose. Alternatively, when you tie like this, you can also, if you have beads that have a large hole, you can insert beads into it, or you can also stitch beads to them to add another decorative effect to it. So I finished stitching. I just want to tie, but before I tie, I'm going to lose this one to make sure that I did okay. So before I tie now, I am just loosening the one I use in securing. Where is it here? I think it's thin. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to tie the tail of yarn together. That's the one I use in stitching down with the tapestry needle. I'm just going to tie those ones together. Go a second time to secure it firmly. Then I'll trim the excess. So inserting the crochet hook into the Icord, make sure it don't appear in the front or the back, and also the back. You want it to be neat, because when you place them, you've forgotten that this side, you made this side as front and this side as back. So it's good to have both sides really neat. But in case you make that mistake of taking the front to the back or the back to the front, you are still in good terms with your Icord. So put it and make sure it's just in the middle of the work. So the crochet hook is not going to appear in the front, just in the middle. And make sure it goes into one Icord. You can even weave it into the three Icord, just to hide the tail of the yarn. So we finished that. it's time to stitch our, I'm going to just cut the excess. Just put all. So we finished that. You see our Icord knit ends. It's going to place them on the seats. So here's our garment. It's time for us to pin the Icord to the hemline, to the seam line of the garment. I've already done one side of camera. It's time to do the other side. So to do this other side, I'm just going to make sure we focus on that, on the seam line. Take the Icord. You might have a flat part, a flat edge, which is nice. But if you don't have a flat edge, that's fine. Can still be pointy. Place it on the seam line, but make sure it starts from the hem. You don't want to be longer than the hem. But if you want to be longer than the hem, that's up to you. Remember, you are the designer. Take our pin, we just pin that in place. I'm lifting the garments because I don't want it to pin the underside, the other side of the garment. And I'm pinning sideways. I'm pinning sideways because I don't want to lose pin in the garment. If not, you have, you know, it's a child's garment. If not, you have to scrunch the garment to be searching for pins because the Icord is kind of thick, and you don't want that. When working, make sure your garment is flat, you're working on a flat surface. You want it to be neatly pinned and neatly placed. Then after that, when you get to the part you want to pin, you lift your garment and you place the pin on top. And you place the pin in place. Now lift the garment and place the pin. And also, if you're working with a pin sideways, it helps you when you want to stitch, when you want to sew down the Icord. It's not going to get in your way because you're going to sew straight, so it's not going to get in the way. So now I've gotten to the underarm of the garment. I'm going to pin it down there. And we're going to go around the arm of the garment. And we're going to go around the arm of the garment. When going around the arm, because of the button, you're going to just pick a little of the because of the button. When going around the arm of the garment, because of the button, I think we need to go closer for that. Because of the button, if you see the button here, it's quite close. So because of it, we're going to pick around a little around the edge. So I did same when we was doing the other side, and then we'll pick and we'll pin. You pick a little of the edge of the garment edge and place the Icord there. When you stitch, it's going to be fine. And also I'm using different head of pins that I can see. I'm not using the same color of the yarn because I want to see the pins. So we've gotten to the edge and we're left with extra. So what I'm going to do is lift this pin that is directly under the arm of the garment here, and I'll hide the edge of this I-cord here and layer this on top. We don't need to rush over it. Just trying to pin it in place. So here we've pinned our garment, and you can see the other one here, how we hit the edge under, just like bias binding. You can hide the edge. So it's time for us to sew. As I said earlier, I'm not using the sewing machine. I'm using tapestry needle with a yarn in it. So here's my tapestry needle, hand sewing needle with a yarn in it. I'll start from the bottom and when you are sewing, you don't have to make don't make large loops. If you want to transfer the needle stitch, let me lock this one in first. Just make it tiny. I'm just going to lock this one in, then I will explain what I will demonstrate what I'm trying to explain. So I'm going to tie this. Go a second time. Okay, as I was saying, we make little loops, and if you want to transfer, we should go closer for that. If you want to transfer, just take the needle. You want to transfer the needle into to another part. Just take the needle, put it inside the work. and let it not appear on this other side. Why? It's because if you don't do it like that, you will see large loops on the inside, and if you're working on this this pastel color on the pastel side, it's going to appear. You don't want it to appear. You want the person to be wondering how you stitched this down without it appearing on this other side. So you pass it through the work. You pass the needle through the work. So this loop is in the Icord instead of it appearing on the other side. So we have the loop in the Icord, the middle of the Icord. The same way you try and hide your Icord when the tail of yarn of the Icord when you knit. So you make when we get to this other side, you will understand more. And you pass it in the work, the middle of the work, to transfer and I'll pass it in the Icord. You only see a little when I open the when I finish this pastel side, I'm going to turn it over so that you see the underneath, or the rough side, so that you see that you just see only a tiny loop of the yarn instead of long loops. That's because I passed the yarn through the middle of the Icord. So this way I stitched just little one here, and I'm stitching the next one. If you look, there's no large loop here, and there's no large. Let me show you. Okay. If you look, there's no large loop here, and there's no large loop here. There's part of the needle coming out here. That's because I passed the needle through the middle of the work. You only see a tiny loop. Before I progress, I'm just putting it down to see if in case I made a mistake, I'm just going to correct it. But you can see it's straight and it's taking a nice shape. And here is where I hit the other end of the I-cord, the woven I-cord. So I'm going to make sure I stitch that part down too, because we don't want it coming out from the sides. And for the arm, I'm not making the stitches long, I'm making it a bit short. Okay, that's this part. I'm going to come back. Just trying to make sure the underarm is properly overlapped or is properly covered. I missed it when I was stitching, so I'm just going to do that quickly. And if you take a look, it's as if I didn't stitch it. That's because, you remember, you just make a very thin loop. You can see where I stitched it here. I don't want my fingers to get in the way. You can see where I stitched it there, but pass the needle through the I-cord, the middle of the I-cord, so that we don't make large loops. That's when we are moving to the next stage. We passed the needle and the yarn through the I-cord. We're almost through, just a little more, and you have to be careful here. And let me just stitch this well. I'm doing firm stitches around, short and firm stitches around the arm of the garment, because we want the I-cord to secure strongly or firmly on it. If you want to go into a stitch twice, it's optional, you can do that. If you want, so we finished now, but we need to tidy up this yarn. So I'm just going to secure it to one of the Icord. Make the loop, threading once, threading twice, and nicely pull down to make it knot. And I'll pass it on to another of the Icord, just down. I'll pass it through the Icord to another part. That's the tail of the yarn, or the needle with its tail, with the yarn tail. And with the tape string and with my scissors, I'm gonna trim the excess yarn. Make sure you don't cut your Icord. So here we have our beautifully made gown, decorative edge. You know, we didn't stretch the Icord. When you're laying your Icord, make sure if you're following the front, if the Icord is going to go from the front to the back, make sure it mirrors same on this other side. You don't want one side to be straight and the other side to be different from the left side, except you want the design like that. So I just want to highlight that tip. So here's our gather gown. And we'll finish stitching the Icord to the edge to create a decorative effect. Thanks for joining me for this video of Icord Treasures Project 4 of weaving an Icord to make a decorative edge for a gather gown. You can visit the blog anino.ogunjobi.com to see what's happening in the crafting industry. Until then, happy knitwear designing, happy knitting, remain blessed. Thanks. Have a nice day. Bye for now.